government of Venezuela denounced a siege by the United States Navy against a fishing vessel in waters belonging to the country's exclusive economic zone. In Mexico, the death toll from the liquefied petroleum gas explosion that occurred east of the capital rose to 13. And in Palestine, Dutch Volkskrant newspaper investigation reveals that Israeli forces deliberately targeted Palestinian children. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The government of Venezuela denounced a siege by the United States Navy against a fishing vessel that was northwest of La Barranquilla in waters belonging to the country's exclusive economic zone. The Venezuelan Foreign Minister Ivan Gil condemned the military intimidation carried out this Friday against the fishermen who were navigating in Venezuelan waters. The United States Navy destroyer equipped with war missiles and manned by highly trained Marines put at risk the life of workers in the fishing sector who were engaged in economic activities. The diplomat demanded, on behalf of the national government, the cessation of hostilities by warlike groups that seek to end the country's democracy, sovereignty, and peace. In this context, Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez condemned the actions of the United States in the Caribbean and emphasized the readiness of the armed forces to defend national sovereignty.
You know that with all this deployment in the Caribbean, they are trying to provoke a reaction from us. They are looking for an incident that will escalate the military conflict. We are vigilant. We know what is happening. We know about their deployment in the Caribbean Sea. We know all their intentions, but we are calm, on permanent vigil without falling for provocations. We are not going to fall into the trap of provocations, so don't be confused. We know what to do at the right moment, and under the instructions of the President of the Republic and head of the armed forces.
In other news, Vice President Delcy Rodriguez affirmed that the Venezuelan people have heard President Nicolás Maduro's call to visit military barracks to receive training in defending national sovereignty.
The people are going to the barracks. What do the people do when they go to the barracks? First, they give our soldiers, our Bolivarian National Armed Forces, a hug. Second, they are preparing themselves in theoretical training for the defense of the country. They are preparing themselves in practical shooting training. We have just come from the shooting range, where thousands and thousands of people have gathered at the barracks in response to the President's call for enlistment in this process. We have to prepare ourselves to defend peace, and Venezuela, the Venezuela that marches, that absolutely nothing can stop and no one can defeat our people, who in the face of aggression, in the face of threats, in the face of criminal economic blockades, the Venezuelan people respond.
In this sense, in the state of La Guaira, men, women, and young people began military training as part of Operation Independence 200 to strengthen the nation's integral defense. Our colleague Michelle Ramirez with the details.
Civilian citizens came to the Marine Infantry facilities in the state of La Guaira to start the military training session. Daniela Segura, mother of 3 children and housewife, responded to the call to defend her country, her people, and her territory.
I am here responding to the call of our president to fight for the sovereignty and freedom of our homeland and our country, for our children, for our grandparents, for our families, for all the Venezuelan people.
Liliana Rivas promised to protect her country with her own life if necessary.
I am the mother of 3 children. I am married. My husband is a retired military man, and well, today we are here because we are ready to defend our country. That free and sovereign independence that our liberator Simon Bolivar left us, but also our eternal commander Chavez, and now President Maduro, we are going to defend it if possible with our lives.
Under a brilliant sun, they learned defense techniques and tactics. They expressed their desire to contribute and participate in the protection of Venezuelan soil.
I am a family man. I belong to a commune, and have always worked. Since Commander Chavez took office, I have given everything for my country, and here I am, continuing to give everything, until God decides otherwise. Faced with the need to defend their homeland, they joined up, they enlisted, and that is partly the reason and partly the explanation for why the people of La Guerra, are here today. And wait for more, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what La Guerra is in the defense of the homeland.
With this display of civilian police and military unity and cooperation, Venezuelans demonstrated not only their strength, but also their commitment to defending their nation. And in response to the announcement of the next training sessions, they assured that they were ready and prepared.
En la cámara de Gustavo Flores, Michelle Ramírez desde La Guaira, Venezuela, para TeleSUR.
And in the United States, migrants detained at the Alligator Alcatraz prison reported having difficulties in communicating with their lawyers and obtaining a fair trial. The prison service was sued for preventing inmates from speaking to their lawyers while they were being held. According to the complaint, the Immigration and Customs Control Service is withholding information about the migrants so that their legal representatives cannot locate their whereabouts. Alligator Alcatraz is a penitentiary center that accumulates several claims, among them construction on a wetland with wild fauna, which violates the health of migrants. We have our first break coming up. Remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We're going to be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Mexico, the death toll from the liquefied petroleum gas explosion that occurred east of the capital has risen to 13. The explosion left dozens of people with severe second and third degree burns who were hospitalized. Authorities detailed that the driver of the tanker truck transporting 50,000 liters of liquefied petroleum gas lost control of the vehicle, which overturned, spilled fuel, exploded, and caused a large fire. The incident generated a blast wave between 500 and 700 meters, affecting dozens of cargo vehicles, public transport, private cars, and a residential area. And the Ecuadorian executive began implementing the neoliberal package recommended by the International Monetary Fund, with the elimination of the diesel subsidy. Various sectors of national life condemned President Daniel Noboa's adjustment. Social, union, indigenous, and political organizations in the country reject the executive decision and assert that President Noboa has preferred to prioritize compliance with the IMF over listening to the people. The Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities stated that the government is pushing popular patience to the limit. This adjustment comes 1 year after the removal of subsidies for Extra and Eco País gasoline. The anticipated impact on transportation prices and the increase in basic basket products is expected to be significant. And in Peru, thousands of people took to the streets of Lima, Piura, Trujillo, and Puno to reject the new pension law and express their concern about the growing citizen insecurity. In the capital, protesters gathered at Plaza San Martin and marched toward Congress, but the police blocked their path with tear gas and motorized officers. Clashes and several arrests were reported. Among their main demands, the protesters called for a partial return of their contributions to private pension funds and rejected the requirement to include all citizens over 18 in the pension system, even informal workers who make up the majority of the country's workforce. The march was led mainly by young people who also used the protest to express their dissatisfaction with insecurity and the government's management. Russian forces successfully intercepted 304 Ukrainian drones and 3 HIMARS rockets in the past 24 hours. They also secured the settlement of Novomykolaivsk in the Dnipropetrovsk region while maintaining pressure on Ukrainian command posts, Foreign Legion units, and drone storage sites. The situation in Kupiansk and surrounding areas remains under Ukrainian control, including the strategically important pipeline exit point used by Russian forces. In a separate operation, Ukrainian drones struck an oil refinery in Ufa, Bashkortostan, causing a fire that damaged some production equipment. Local authorities confirmed the fire was extinguished quickly and operations at the refinery continued without interruption with no casualties reported. And in this context, despite Moscow's interest and willingness to reach a peace agreement with Kiev, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, under the direction of European leaders and the so-called coalition of the willing, continues to place obstacles in the way of a meeting with Kremlin representatives.
The political elites in Kiev are deliberately obstructing peace negotiations. For the Ukrainian regime, peace is a threat to its power. Without the war, the massive flow of foreign financial aid, estimated at around $50 billion by 2025, would end.
Recently,
this Sunday, Zelensky declared that Ukraine had already won because Putin had not yet taken all of Ukraine. This means that the Ukrainian government is no longer repeating its claims about restoring the 1991 border and going to have coffee in Crimea. This means that the Ukrainian government is capable of blending in. But their tradition of promising victory to their voters every day and showing that the West is with them and that they are winning is more alive than ever.
International aid is conditional and linked to the political loyalty of the current Ukrainian government. Therefore, a possible change to an independent government could result in the immediate withdrawal of financial support and the demand for payment of accumulated debts, leading the country to inevitable bankruptcy.
What is Kyiv doing today to sabotage the peace process? First, they continue to bomb the Friendship oil pipeline which runs from the Russian Federation through Ukrainian territory to Europe. Second, this week's bombings, the drone attacks on Polish territory, were certainly a provocation under the direction of the British Secret Services, but in any case from Ukrainian territory. These two actions show that Ukraine does not want to continue the process of establishing peace, but on the contrary, is escalating the conflict.
At the same time, Kiev is seeking to force Russia to definitively abandon the negotiating table through a systematic campaign of targeted attacks against the civilian population and non-military infrastructure within Russian territory.
The world that Zelensky and his entourage see is, of course, not possible, not only because of what Russia wants or doesn't want, but because even the European community now understands that it is impossible. I believe that they will delay all kinds of peace negotiations. They want to obtain the maximum possible from certain preferences for themselves, understanding perfectly well that under these conditions they are already playing as losers.
Ukraine has thus become a complex web of financial dependency, internal political calculation, illusions fueled from abroad, and a warmongering narrative that limits any diplomatic solution. Kiev, clinging to power under the promises of Western support, prefers to prolong a war that has only led its country to demographic and economic catastrophe.
In our second break coming up, before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. A final break, don't go away. In Palestine, an investigation by the Dutch newspaper De Volkskrant has revealed that children have been deliberately targeted by Israeli forces. Foreign doctors working in the region describe a chilling pattern where children have been targeted with single gunshot wounds to the head or chest. In this regard, 15 doctors interviewed said they treated 114 children aged 15 and older with these wounds, and most did not survive. The eyewitnesses claim the bullets came from Israeli snipers or drones. On the other hand, Mark de Kruijff, a former Dutch army commander, stated that given the consistency of the scale of these injuries, accidental hits are nearly impossible. And medicine crisis in the Gaza Strip, Palestine increased amputations. Health authorities revealed that date, more than 4,700 Palestinians have been amputated as a result of Israeli aggression. They indicated that Palestinians are not only dying from Israeli attacks, but from wound infections that lead to amputations. They stress that the health crisis forces doctors to amputate infected limbs to save lives. The forced evacuation of thousands of Palestinian citizens increases due to the intensification of the Israeli aggression in the Gaza Strip. According to reports, more than 250,000 people left the city of Gaza following the evacuation communicated by the Zionist regime. Many families are still trapped for not finding transportation in a safe place. The United Nations warned that at least 100,000 people have been displaced between August and September 2025. And a growing number of universities and scholarly associations around the world are cutting ties with Israeli academia, citing complicity in the government's genocide on Gaza. Institutions in Brazil, Norway, Belgium, and Spain have already suspended collaborations, while Trinity College Dublin and the University of Amsterdam have recently followed suit. In this context, the European Association of Social Anthropologists also announced it will not work with Israeli academic institutions and urged its members to do the same. Advocates of the academic boycott argue that Israeli universities maintain close ties with the state and military. In this regard, Stephanie Adam of the Palestinian Campaign for the Academic and Cultural Boycott of Israel says that Israeli academia is complicit in decades-long military occupation, settler colonial apartheid, and now genocide, adding that universities worldwide have a moral obligation to act. In other topics, in the United Kingdom, at least 25 right-wing militants were detained by authorities while demonstrating to legitimize extremism under the pretext of freedom of expression. Protesters shouted slogans against Prime Minister Keir Starmer. In response, security forces warned of strong police action in the coming days if protesters continue their calls. It is important to note that right-wing forces in the United Kingdom carry out hate and racist speeches against minorities. Likewise, at least 26 police officers have been injured following clashes with protesters. The Golden Panda Award ceremony was held on Saturday in Chengdu, southwest China's Sichuan province, with achievements in the fields of film, television, documentary, and animation in 27 categories. The event, organized by the Chinese Federation of Literary and Artistic Circles and the government of Sichuan province, is an international cultural award aimed at promoting humanistic exchanges and fostering dialogue through film and television productions with the giant panda as a cultural symbol. The Golden Panda Award selects works that stimulate the resonance of emotions and relies on renowned figures with global influence to form an international and professional jury. The chairman of the jury, Chen Kag, emphasized that the festival seeks to create a bridge between nations around the world through film and to promote cultural coexistence as the highest form of art. And in Honduras, Copan is one of the most significant archaeological sites of Maya civilization. This site is located in a mountainous landscape in the west. Let's see more details.
Descubierto en 1570 por Diego García.
Discovered in 1570 by Diego García Palacio, Copan is one of the most significant archaeological sites in the Maya civilization. This site is located in a mountainous landscape in western Honduras, near the border with Guatemala. Its impressive architectural structures, sculptures, and steles, dating from the classical Maya period, reflect the three main stages of its development, before the city was abandoned, in the early 9th century after the Common Era,
a principios del siglo IX después de la Era Común. Copán fue una de las ciudades más influyentes en la región.
Copán was one of the most influential cities in Maya region, acting as an important political, religious, and cultural center. One of its most notable features is the famous Acropolis, which houses a series of ceremonial complexes and monumental buildings. The steles and the altars that decorate the site are especially notable for their intricate reliefs, which depict Mayan rulers and mythological and ritual scenes. In addition to its architecture, Copán is renowned for its achievement in Mayan art and writing. Archaeologists have discovered hydroponic inscriptions that offer valuable information about the political and social history of the region. These texts are essential for understanding the genealogy of the Mayan rulers and their relationships with other city-states.
Con otras ciudades-estado. A lo largo de los siglos, Copán experimentó altibajos.
Over the centuries, Copán experienced ups and downs, and although it was abandoned in the 9th century, its legacy lives on. Today, the site attracts dozens of visitors each year, which come to appreciate its impressive cultural heritage and learn about the rich history of the Maya civilization. In 1980, it was declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in recognition to its cultural and historical value. The conservation and protection of Copán are fundamental not only to safeguard its historical value, but also to promote sustainable tourism in the region. Archaeological efforts continue, revealing new findings that enrich our understanding of this fascinating pre-Columbian culture.
Enriquecen nuestra comprensión de esta fascinante cultura precolombina.
Well, like this, we are from the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.